Hi, and welcome to Coming to Terms with AI. I'm Miri Bleicher, the social media manager here at Coco Hub. Up until recently, I had absolutely zero knowledge when it comes to conversational AI, chatbots, and voice bots. I need help. So during this show, I'll be asking industry leaders to explain terms, ideas, and concepts in the field in the way that will make sense to me. And if it makes sense to me, there's a good chance it will make sense to you. So today I turn to Amy Dolin Oliver, conversation designer and content designer, to learn about a happy path. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Miri. Happy to be here.
Yeah, what is the happy path?
Well, it's both a concept and a tool, and it can be broken down into two parts like its name. So first we have happy. It's either optimal or successful, and path is a route from A to B. So when I'll give you an example of how I use it in my work. Recently I was working with an Alexa voice-based escape room game. And after we've developed the concept and created kind of a storyboard, I sit down and I write out how would a player, in this case, get from the beginning of the game to the end of the game in a successful, optimal way. So in the very beginning, there's an introduction to the game. Very quickly, to get the player involved, it'll say something like, ready to begin. So in that moment, the player has a choice to what they say. Now, because I'm designing the happy path, my happy is that they say yes. So I write down yes. I put aside all the other answers, kind of secondary paths for later. And then I continue and the game begins and there's, some narrative and some choices come up. And again, the game will ask a question about what do you want to do next? And happy path, all the different routes could lead to the same ending, or one might be better than another, but I pick one, go write that down and continue. So by the end, I will have a document that has all of these questions, responses, narratives inside that I use to communicate with the other designers and with the developers, and we kind of refine it from there. And it's one narrow path that a player could take through a game. Now, the reason it's called happy, I think, is actually on the side of the designers and developers, because it's not all the paths, it's just one path. And actually, I think it's Joan Palmer was saying that 80% of your work is on the other paths. And this happy is, we've controlled one line, one, single anchor point in this universe of options. So apart from that, so again, at the end of it, I've got my happy path, which I can now use as kind of, like I said, anchor point to communicate. And the developers are going to use this, and we'll add in the music files to the document, and then also any images for multimodal and directions in it. And apart from that, we've got our secondary paths, like we said, the happy path, the secondary paths. And then a third area would be all the different ways that a person could say things, instead of saying go right. So I think a lot too, I just gave an example of a game, but it could be you're using a chatbot, and the chatbot is, the success of booking a hair appointment. So getting you from starting talking to the end, having your appointment. And as the designer, I might think the happy path is asking questions about, the time and the date. But the client says, when does Betty work? Because what's the most important to Betty, or to the client, is that Betty is the person who cuts her hair. So again, you only find out all your 80% of other paths by first using your kind of intuition, and then doing research, testing, looking at your logs. So anyway, we're just focusing on the happy path. Happy path is you controlled one line of the universe, and that's the happy path.
So it's basically the optimal route that the user will take from the side of whoever wrote the conversation designer.
Yeah, I would say it's the optimal route for the designer and developer, because for the client, user, player, it's optimal for them is their quickest way to get to A to B, which might not be the same as the designers, but yeah.
Wow. How likely is someone to use just the happy path?
Okay, that's super interesting. I would say that is what you would do if you were playing the game. And because you represent, let's say, 10,000 people, 10,000 people will do that. But since the world is made up of many more people than 10,000, it's not super likely that you're going to hit it. And even if you did, I mean, just think about in your own family, if you have brothers or sisters, or how different each person is in their responses. And then that's inside your family where you're kind of similar. So if you take it into your community or you take it into the world, just exponential possibilities of answers.
Wow, amazing. That's an amazing explanation. I like the narrow route there.
Yeah, just an anchor and it's one line. And again, the happy is on the side of the designers and developers. It might not be the happy path for the player. And I was going to say, I do a lot of my designing starting with the happy path on an Excel. So I know some people, like Jason's mentioned, he writes out a script. I work on Excel. Hillary Black has a great one, which I adapted for voice. And then after that, I usually will take the Excel to a program or a platform like, for example, CocoaHub or BotMock or Boticide or another, because like I said, I'll do this kind of like in a step-by-step way in Excel, but it's just not visual. And I've found you kind of need both. You need to be able to go through it, mechanically. Did we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7? Yes. And then also to understand the larger universe, that kind of visual image of it.
Amazing. Well, it's a great explanation. Thank you, Amy.
Great, thank you, Mary.
And all you guys out there, thank you. And thank you for watching. And if you have an idea for a term or something you would like to ask, to contact me. I'm here.